3天了，昨天还不一样。
我想起来了。
哎，我说你老了就吃点保健品嘛，说不定还能改善呢，是不是？
奶奶，我从不吃药，还不如多吃点面包。
哎，行吧。
My mom told me that grandma's memory is going down. She almost forgot which metro line is closer to our home. Help her memory not lose completely. I cannot imagine a day when she forgot the city she lived, the street she had walked, or even my name.
That's the main issues. You got that messages?
We have received your messages, so we are trying to produce something that can improve our memory.
Yeah, 可以的。
I have no idea yet. How about making some medicine?
That might be too hard for us.
Indeed, literally, making medicine is too difficult for us. But how about trying to make some existing compound that can reach our goals? I mean, guys, remember the flavonoid that I told you yesterday?
Yeah.
Just now I saw an article. It said the flavonoid can improve the memories of human beings, especially for those seniors with memory disease. How about that?
I remember. And we also read an article about the de novo metabolism. Maybe we can try to add the estrogen to make it the metabolism.
Exactly. So we can try complex pathway.
Affirmative. But I think the flavonoid still needs a vector.
Yes. What do you think?
Well, how about maybe it's with the bread and memory?
Aging population is a serious problem in many countries. For example, in China, the one-child policy has caused a gradual decrease in birth rate, resulting in higher proportion of old people. This aging population can lead to lots of different social problems. Aside from the pressure it puts on the social welfare system, the risk for old people undergoing diseases and disorders such as subjective cognitive decline increases with age. Subjective cognitive decline, abbreviated as SCD, is a self-reported experience of confusion or memory loss. It has an impact on the daily life of patients with chronic diseases or on daily activities such as cooking or cleaning. When cognition is impaired, it can have a profound impact on an individual's overall health and well-being. Cognitive decline can range from mild cognitive impairment to dementia, which is a form of decline in abilities that is severe enough to interfere with daily life. Studies reflect the fact that there are a relative high proportion of the older generations suffering from SCD, and this phenomenon is becoming more and more severe. This further makes us recognize the seriousness of the problem, which is the original intention of our project.
To improve the elders' cognitive ability, we chose flavonoids. They can reduce the risk factors for cardiovascular diseases, and among them we chose catechin, mainly dietary source from tea and some palmy fruit. A number of papers we referred to suggested that catechin can be used to enhance cognitive ability. For our aim group, the elders, how could they use our product? To figure out the solution, we visited China Emergent Guanyi Healthcare and experienced as volunteers there. When we were talking with the elders there, we noticed that the elders do not have very high acceptance to this kind of pharmaceutical healthcare products. From their everyday menu, we learned that they are likely to have staple foods like bread, rice, and porridge. Bread, however, as a soft and changeable type, has the most possibility to attract consumers and make sure that the chemical compound is firmly added. As a result, we use bread as a vector. And that's why our project is called memory bread.
After we confirmed the bread as the catechins factor, in order to achieve our goals, we started to explore professional advice about construction of molecular cloning and the specific details in production of flavonoids. We inquired with two experts, both of them were working in pharmaceuticals companies in Chengdu, China. First, they said to select different promoters and terminators could increase the expression of crucial intermediates. That could improve the rate-determining steps in the production of catechin. Therefore, the total amount of yield could be increased. Furthermore, he said that nowadays, the population's aging happened in global scales. In the end of 2050s, the world would be predicted to get one old person in every 5 people. Therefore, we could get great potential to benefit the senior groups in the future. His encouragement considerably motivated us to improve our project. After we finished in the first interview, we conduct online discussion regularly. They offered plenty of constructive suggestions. You can find more details about those discussions in our wiki.
In order to better realize our conceptual product, memory brain, we also interviewed Dr. Zhang from Jilin University. At first, he asked him about long-term dangers of flavonoids as a health supplement. And he said flavonoids are mainly ingredient in tea. Drinking tea is very common custom in China. In this case, these substances don't have much negative effects on the human body. It is, however, a kind of polyphenol which may ingredient mineral assumption to potential to form protein flocculation. For the children and teenagers, he doesn't recommend drinking too much tea. The reason is that macronutrients are essential for them to grow up. If they take flavonoid as a products at this time, it may interfere with their assumption and utilization of the mineral and proteins. Yet Dr. Zhang believes that our products have positive effects on the health and of the elderly.
After listening to the suggestions from different individuals and experts and reading some articles for reference, we used the yeast toolkit in the construction of metabolic pathways to produce naringenin and catechin. We entrust the task of constructing 9 genes from 9 different organisms, such as ginkgo biloba, and all the promoters except PPDC1, all the terminators except TCYC1, and all the connectors to BGI. We test the parts in these toolkits using BSA1 digestion, and as is shown in the graph, they all met with our expectations. In addition, we constructed 2 vectors, type 8C and type 8K, using gypsum assembly, and they both passed the BSA1 digestion test and proved to match with the desired sequence. Besides, these vector plasmids were inserted with genes producing green fluorescent protein. To test the results, we transferred constructed transformats into a petri dish with selection medium. Under the exposure of the UV, green fluorescent light can be seen. After obtaining all individual parts in these toolkits, we chose suitable promoters and terminators, as well as the corresponding connectors according to the research on catechin production. By combining these parts with compatible genes and type 8K, we obtain composite part level 1. We designed 1 primer located in front of the promoter and 1 in the behind of the terminator for cloning PCR screening verification. The level 1 composite plasmid that passed the verification were kept if DNA sequencing also showed it had the correct sequence for later construction for the final metabolic pathway. The detailed assembly strategy had been launched in our wiki. Now it's Morris' turn to describe some further information.
To achieve the catechin synthesis pathway we design in advance, we need to take advantage of those composite parts designed by Gordon. Basically, our plan is quite similar to the one we used in previous description. What to do is the assembly of 2 plasmids. The difference is that the BNSB1 is used and 9 fragments involved. However, we encountered unexpected obstacle in practice. After screening all transformats, we didn't find any one of these that meets the expectation. At first, we thought that the reaction program may need to be adjusted, but several adjustments on temperature and dosage didn't make any significant difference. In this occasion, we suspected that the problem comes from the efficiency of Golden Gate assembly. Given that the fragments involved in assembly are relatively low, those resulting in low efficiency during the assembly. According to this image, we can see that the CR-CPR and DULAR is integrated into the plasmid of catechin pathway, while the rest of the fragments doesn't.
To solve this problem, we refer to endose research. We found that the ester homologous recombination can be used as well, given that the high efficiency of the ester recombination. In addition, since the final factor of the recombined plasmid is Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which can also accomplish the fermentation of the bread in final stage. This makes it even more suitable to use this method. To initiate the assembly, we redesign the primers use each level 1 coding sequences as templates. These primers involve 50 base pair homologous arms. In this way, the product after PCR will involve these homologous arms. As a result, the yeast can recognize this homologous arm of these coding sequences and integrate them into a complete plasmid through efficiently recombine mechanism inside the yeast. By considering the primers for junction PCR, we initiate the PCR to verify the validity of yeast transformants. After several rounds screening, we obtain correct transformant. According to the image, all bands meet the expectations, and the results of assembly using this method do support our belief. We managed to assemble these two plasmids. As we can see, all coding sequences are successfully inserted. The next step is fermentation. We need some advices from experts. Let's switch to Yuna.
In order to make sure that the yeast actually produce naringenin and catechin during the fermentation process, we did related social research. For this reason, we chose Forgan and Kintos as research objects. Firstly, we asked Forgan if they would use gene-edited yeast for fermentation. According to the conversation, Forgan's attitude is natural, but this yeast will be used in the future if it is clearly approved by the relevant national authorities, and if there are a number of clearly legitimate studies provide its function. Secondly, we asked Kintos about yeast fermentation. Kintos mentioned that we should avoid the oxidation of flavonoids. If we attempted to take continuous fermentation to get catechin, we were supposed to increase the yield of intermediates by slightly adjusting the temperature and providing sufficient amount of feeding.
After concluding the responses from the interview, we started the fermentation and take samples after 24 hours, 48 hours, and 72 hours after fermentation beginning. According to the HPLC analysis, we can see that there are intermediate products and the catechin crystals matched with standard crystals, showing catechin and intermediates produced. Let's see bar charts of the results. The catechin production using different substrate concentration. Here we can find that the catechin has produced since 24 hours after fermentation began. The amount of the catechin produced increased with the time. Surprisingly, according to the analysis of dozens of samples and corresponding HPLC results, there is certain products being spotted at appearance time of 7 minutes with numerous accumulations, with high possibly caused by leukocyanocytidins, which is called LCD. Considering the yield of catechin, we deduct that the conversion from leukocyanocytidins to catechin is the rate-limited step within the pathway of the catechin synthesis. In the future experiments, we plan to proceed fermentation with longer time, as well as improve the catechin synthesis pathway, including to switch promoters using in the pathway. In this way, we aim to raise the production of the catechin into a higher level.
After making sure that the metabolic pathway we built really worked, we went to Forgan and Kintos to understand the technical aspects of bread making. In order to realize our concept product, we can note that they prefer to use fresh yeast comparing to gene-edited yeast. Also, to ensure the safety of the food, they generally don't add any additive, and they prefer to use eggs, sugar, and New Zealand milk powder for natural process. Finally, we followed their true experience and learned the process of bread making, and successfully baked our own bread.
Our team contacted government staff and had a deep communication.
The topics we communicated were around food safety and import and export of goods. In the dialogue with senior officials, we learned that the country's import and export of genetically modified food additive. The state strictly controls the import and export of genetically modified food, and all import and export goods must be filed. If it is food or healthcare products, the state requires sample testing, and the food or healthcare products are sent to the Food and Drug Administration for testing. The test is qualified. In the course of conversation, we also learned that the country is working hard to develop science and technology and popularize the knowledge of genetically modified food. We told the customs officer the purpose of our project, and he told us if it is easier to succeed in filling food products than health products. Of course, it depends on how other countries control the import and export of genetically modified products.
In this context, it is absolutely very difficult for our project this year, Memory Bread, to promote it to the public, so we took many measures hoping to face it positively. For example, our team tried to enter the campus to popularize the knowledge of synthetic biology to the students around us. In addition, he also expanded the relevant technology such as Golden Gate, gypsum assembly, and so on. What's more, we even used bananas and detergent to do small experiments about extracting DNA roughly and used clay to build a model of DNA double helix structure. Those activities have been obtained good feedback, and students have shown great interest in iGEM competition and even synthetic biology. These are recorded in our wiki.
To check if our human practice project on popular education actually made a difference, we devised the second questionnaire. The results we got were encouraging. Among all the participants that consisted of about 40% of people who age over 40, 56% of the people said they would like to try our memory bread, and people who voted depends on the situation, which will also be likely to buy the bread if our production complied with the laws on food censorship, account for 24% of the participants. We also managed to change on people's attitudes towards synthetic biology. After all the things we have been through, we realized there's still a long way before we can serve the elders with memory bread, because we still face two major challenges: to add catechin into our bread during the fermentation stage using the modified yeast only, and to be approved by the government by complying with regulation on food censorship. However, no matter what the obstacles are, we hope memory bread can alleviate the old people's suffering caused by subjective cognitive decline and enable them to enjoy their old age in peace. In addition, if we succeed in embedding catechin into the bread during fermentation and getting approval for government, the technology and the information will be transferable. Think about memory yogurt, memory cheese, and other food with catechin that introduce the benefits of the compound to a large group of seniors regardless of their taste and preference. Future is full of unknowns, but also full of possibilities. We hope with memory bread and its variants, we can change the lives of the elders who want to improve memory so that they can remember their valuable life moments and their loved ones and cherish good memories.